Tour is underway. You can see the pressure on. Riders battle to just hang on. Is she going to take it? Yes, she is.
Hello and welcome along to stage 3 of the AJ Bell Women's Tour, where now we've reached beautiful Atherstone in Warwickshire, and the peloton will today face the first ever individual time trial in the history of the race. But before we get to all that, let's catch up on yesterday's action. It was a wet and windy Walsall that greeted the riders on stage 2. Mopping up the first iceberg sprint was red jersey leader Nina Kessler ahead of stage 1 winner Marta Bastianelli. The riders faced 10 laps of a 10-kilometre circuit, including the climb up Bar Beacon. The first classified ascent in the Skoda Queen of the Mountains was taken by Elise Shabby, just ahead of the green jersey of Demi Vollering. The second sprint of the day went to Sofia Bertazzolo. It was the first one that Nina Kessler didn't win, but she did come second, increasing her lead in the sprints competition and gaining valuable bonus seconds in the GC. Elise Shabby was chasing more Queen of the Mountains points on lap 7, and that win meant she leapfrogged Demi Vollering to take the lead in the competition. On the final iceberg sprint of the day, Nina Kessler was back in dominant form, and the 3 bonus seconds she gained made her race leader on the road. A strong breakaway group formed on the final climb of the day, including Demi Vollering, Amy Peters, Clara Copponi, Elise Shabby and Pfeiffer Georgie, who made a solo break for the line. They all stayed clear as the race headed to the finish.
Peters has got the front, Clara Copponi, seated sprint from the track rider. It's an out-and-out sprint between these two, and is it going to be a 4th victory for Amy Peters? Yes, it is. Peters takes it from Copponi.
So after 2 stages, Clara Copponi is tied on time with Amy Peters, but takes the overall lead thanks to her 2 podium finishes. Behind them, Shayla Gutierrez is 3rd at 6 seconds, Demi Vollering lies 4th at 9 seconds, and then comes a group of 4 riders at 10 seconds. I'm delighted to be joined now by Dame Sarah Story. How are you?
I'm really well, thanks, and what a day for this race.
Yeah, what a difference a day makes. I can't go any further without saying a huge congratulations for Tokyo. How are you reflecting on riding into the history books yet again?
Oh no, Tokyo, Japan was just fantastic for me in a performance perspective, and actually watching the last couple of days of racing reminds me very much of that final race in Japan where it was just bucketing it down. So yeah, no, it's been great fun. I've been celebrating and I'm not afraid to admit it.
Well, I'm glad to hear it. We've absolutely loved watching your journey, of course. And what are you specifically doing in Atherstone here today?
Well, I'm here with the Skoda DSI Cycling Academy. It's an academy that has 7 riders currently. 3 of those riders are graduating from having done 3 years with the academy. And we're here to recce the route of the time trial, to have some learnings around the principles of a course recce and something they can take into the national champs next week.
So important, isn't it? And for me, chatting to the riders over the past couple of stages, there's a lot of riders that have seen this race come through in sort of previous editions, been inspired to take up cycling, and now here. Has anyone particularly stood out for you in the last couple of days?
Well, I think yesterday's stage was really interesting, and Pfeiffer Georgie, someone I raced with before she got her first pro contract. I raced with her at Tour of the Reservoir, and she kind of chased me down. I was in a breakaway, chased me down and went past so fast, and obviously yesterday she was hugely inspiring and really active in the front of that race and went for a flyer towards the finish. So Pfeiffer's been incredibly impressive, and I'm looking forward to seeing her today because she's obviously got a very good time trial on her as well.
Well, Sarah, for now, let's hear from some of the riders.
I think the time trial is really, really important. I think with the stages being relatively flat,
I think it will have a huge impact. It's pretty exciting to have it for the first time here.
Personally, it's not my favourite event. I went and had a look at the course. It was quite similar to where the British Nationals course was going to be held in 2020. Unfortunately, we lost Ellen Van Dijk to a crash. She was our GC hope, really. So it's not that we have bad time trialists.
For sure it will shake the GC, but still I think it's pretty open until the last day. There is not so much control. Everyone starts to be a little tired from the season, of course, so it's also a bit a mental game.
We've had time trials that sort of length in the Simac Ladies Tour, and the time gaps have been quite big from even first to say 10th place, so it couldn't decide it.
Whilst it's your traditional 10-mile course, it's not really your traditional time trial course on some really small little lanes. So yeah, I think it'll be an interesting stage.
With all your wealth of experience, how specifically will the riders be preparing to come into today's time trial?
Well, today it's not actually as warm as it perhaps looks. It's still only about 12 or 13 degrees, and there's a little bit of a wind picking up, so the warm-up will be really, really key. Making sure that you're on that bike and opening up your heart and lungs to get ready and also get that blood pumping through your muscles. They're potentially going to keep wearing their clothes for as long as possible before they get to the start ramp to make sure that they start as warm as they possibly can. But that warm-up will be key in going as hard as they can in that warm-up to really open up all their systems.
And I'm going to put you on the spot now. Who's your pick for today?
I'd really love to see a British rider on the podium today. Obviously, Joss Loudon is fresh from her world hour record performance last week. Hayley Simmons is in the field as a former national champion, but the Alice and Hannah Barnes have also got a really good time trial on them. So I'd love to see a British rider on the podium at the end of the day.
Sarah, thanks so much for all the insight as ever. For now, let's take a closer look at exactly what lies ahead for today's time trial. Atherstone hosts a stage of the Women's Tour for a record 4th time, and this year's stage is the first individual time trial in the event's history. Stage 3 is only 16.6 kilometres long, and the profile is fairly flat, but there are some twisty, narrow sections that could catch the riders out before they reach the finish line on Sheepy Road. Situated in the county of Warwickshire, Atherstone lies on the Roman road of Watling Street and is near to the site of the last battle of the warrior, Queen Boudica. These days, Atherstone is an attractive, busy market town full of interesting shops and cafes. Visitors can stroll along the picturesque Coventry Canal, which runs through the town and has a series of 11 locks. The town is famous for its Shrove Tuesday No Rules football game, which has been held annually for over 8 centuries. Well, that's enough from me for now. Let's hand straight over to our commentators, Hannah Walker and Marty McDonald, for all the action from today's first ever individual time trial.
Jess Allen of Australia and Team Bike Exchange has the honour of starting the first ever time trial here at the AJ Bell Women's Tour. Riders starting 1 minute apart. The final 10 will start 2 minutes apart. 16.6 kilometre individual time trial, just over 10 miles. The race of truth, we call it, Hannah. Nowhere to hide today as she gets the countdown to roll away from the start.
She's away for this technical and twisty, undulating time trial here at the AJ Bell Women's Tour. Not your typical time trial that we usually see in the UK when they're usually an out and back to the turn and trying to post the fastest time.
Now for some riders, Jess Allen, very much a domestique for Team Bike Exchange, but riders have got to be careful of the time limit of taking it too easy in the time trial, haven't they?
We've seen it more and more often, haven't we, that the time trial where usually it was a day off, almost a rest day, a day where those who want to save themselves for the road races, bunch sprints, what have you, aren't able to have it so easy anymore. The time percentage that you need to finish in, 25% today, and the faster we go in the time trials, the shorter that time limit.
Francesca Morgan-Schlader here of AWOL O'Shea rolls away next, and you see the different equipment choices as well. This is one of the domestic British teams. No time trial bike, no disc wheels as well. Can be a bit of a disadvantage.
It is a huge disadvantage for these riders. They don't have the aerodynamic benefits from the time trial bike, from the equipment. It comes down, and we all know how close a time trial can be. So for these riders, a real disadvantage. And as we were just mentioning before, the time limit, the time cut for today is going to be vital for these riders.
Excited rider on the start, Tenielle Campbell of Team Bike Exchange, so former Pan Am under-23 time trial champion. And we love Tenielle Campbell. We're big fans of this rider. She's really making an impact in world cycling. Comes into this race, the rider from Trinidad and Tobago, fresh off a stage victory in the Tour of the Ardèche for the Team Bike Exchange. They had all their bikes stolen in Ardèche. Tenielle went on the next day. She won the stage. For me, it seems to have just brought Team Bike Exchange closer together. They seem to have had a real boost in camaraderie.
For Tennille Campbell, she's been going from strength to strength, spending time at the UCI World Cycling Centre team, learning the trade, getting all that experience, and now this year she's really flourished.
Lorena Wiebes of Team DSM, sprinter, but Lorena as well, we know her, she's won prologue time trials in LC Jakob. She can put out a good time trial when she needs to.
These riders, when you look at the distance of today, 16.6 kilometres, those who are great sprinters, those who are quite punchy will perform well, and especially on this type of course, lots of twists and turns, as I mentioned before. It's not all about that pure power and speed that we see in a normal British time trial. This is your typical international time trials course.
Tennille Campbell here, you can see great technique by the rider from Trinidad and Tobago, and really is posting some really fast times out on the course. Stage 3 individual time trial here at the AJ Bell Women's Tour, 16.6 kilometres, and it's Tennille Campbell of Team Bike Exchange that's now coming up towards the line, and the word is that she's going quick out on the course. Campbell takes the lead, 25.51 for Tennille Campbell, so she goes to the top of the leaderboard.
Really impressive ride there from Tennille Campbell to take the lead as her teammate Jannica Ensing rolls down the ramp.
That's a good time to set from the Team Bike Exchange riders, and they do a lot of work in the time trial bikes and the time trial positions to Team Bike Exchange. Out on the road here, Hayley Simmons, twice British time trial champion, just over 10 miles. A lot of pressure on Hayley today.
I think pressure from herself as well, because she knows what she's capable of. A bronze medalist at the Commonwealth Games over in the Gold Coast back in 2018. Also a bronze medalist at the European Games. And this is Hayley Simmons' forte here. A time trial, she's really at home. She spends so much time on her time trial bike and focusing on this discipline.
Veronica Ewers rolls away here for Team Tibco Silicon Valley Bank. A really exciting signing for this team, is really setting the US scene alive. Took a bronze medal in this year's National Road Race Championships.
She's been turning heads, hasn't she? And from that performance, she got a guest ride with Team Tibco Silicon Valley Bank at the Joe Martin stage race, where she was performing well. And from that, she ended up getting a contract for the remainder of the season and has now signed until the end of 2023.
Onto the start ramp, Lizzie Deignan, and as you would expect, you can hear the crowds, the big smile from the defending champion, twice a winner here at the AJ Bell Women's Tour, straight off that historic victory this weekend in Paris-Roubaix. And it's kind of sometimes looking at the weekend, hard to put into words just how historic Lizzie's ride was.
I think this reception from the fans at the side of the road, seeing it in mainstream media as well, really shows you how special Lizzie Deignan's victory was at the weekend. And having that reception, she's not necessarily known for her time trailing capabilities, but let's not forget, she has been a world champion in the team time trial.
She gets her ride underway here, and that ride at the weekend, over 80 kilometres, every pave section of Paris-Roubaix to take that victory. Into the finish now, Anna Christian from the Isle of Man, drops Le Col, sprinting in towards the finish now, and the drops Le Col rider is going to cross the line with a new fastest time. Anna Christian goes to the top of the leaderboard, 25.41.
Lauren Stevens will roll down the ramp next. A very exciting prospect and a really strong time trialist again. She's had 8 victories in time trials during her career, so it'll be exciting to see what she can do and what she can produce today. Of course, she won the Lotto Thuringen Ladies Tour time trial a few years back.
US National Road Race Champion as well. If you've been with us over the course of the first couple of days, you'll see that US National Champion Stars and Stripes jersey in the peloton. Lizzie Deignan, though, out on the road here, as we've said, she's not known for her time trial prowess, doesn't have to very often do a full gas time trial, so she'll be looking to maybe just, help herself in the recovery, keep things nice and fresh for the days to come.
And it's not to say that she's not a great time trialist, it's just a discipline where she doesn't put all her eggs into one basket. It's not where she has her focus. Her focus is really on the road races, for stage races, one-day races.
And the crowd love her here, as you would expect. And looking over the final days of this one, if she's not a threat in the general classification, it might help open up a couple of opportunities for stage wins on the days to come. But Audrey Cordon-Ragot, now the French champion, coming in towards the finish. 5 times national time trial champion of France. Cordon-Ragot crosses the line, and it's a new fastest time for Audrey Cordon-Ragot, 25:27.
Alice Barnes, the British national time trial champion, is about to get her ride underway for Canyon SRAM Racing.
And she'll defend that jersey next week. She's had it for a couple of years now, hasn't she? She won't want to give it back. She's the national time trial and road race champion, but she's been looking good this season in time trials.
Of the 6 time trials that she's competed in this year, 5 times she's been in the top 10, and her lowest result has been 14th place at the CIMAC Ladies Tour. So that just gives you some indication of how well Alice Barnes is going.
I think her ride at the Healthy Aging Tour time trial for me was one of the strongest performances I've seen in a stage race from her way back at the beginning of the season. It was right up on the coast in the Netherlands. It was absolutely blowing a gale, so much that they weren't allowed to ride their time trial bikes.
It was. I remember that vividly, that the weather conditions were horrific, but she's been performing well. Of course, world champion as well in the team time trial back in 2018 in Innsbruck. So for Alice Barnes, it's, as you say, coming into great form for the back end of the season, wants to try and remain in those British champions colours. But today, could she take the first ever stage in a time trial at the Women's Tour?
You look at someone like Alice Barnes, great sprinter and a great time trialist as well, and the two combination, they really go well together. Back to the finish, Janneke Ensing now in towards the finish line. We'll see what she can do on the line. It's a new fastest time, so the times are really hotting up here. Janneke Ensing goes to the top, 25:28, but right behind her, Veronica Ewers started a minute behind her. This is going to be a blistering time by the Tibco rider, 24:39. Ewers goes to the top of the leaderboard, and right behind her is the AWOL O'Shea rider, Connie Hayes. She comes across the line, 15th, 26:50 for the British rider. She's been caught and passed by the 2 riders behind her, but a really solid ride by Connie Hayes. Anna Shackley, Shack, as she's known from Mulgai in Scotland, powering to the line, and Anna Shackley goes into 2nd place with that ride, 24:43.
Chantal Vandenbroek-Black next up now for SD Works, the teammate of Anna Shackley. What can she produce today? Because a rider who's been a world team time trial champion, she's been very strong in the time trials throughout this year.
She finished 3rd at the CIMAC Ladies time trial behind Marlon Rusa and Ellen van Dijk, who are 2 of the top time trialists in the world. For me today, she's got to be one of the favourites in this one. We'll take Abby Smith off the line here, the young Brit, 19 years old. She is such a talent, Abby Smith.
And Team Tibco Silicon Valley Bank are doing such a tremendous job of talent spotting and getting these talents young, and the way that they're helping them develop, giving them that experience, providing them with that knowledge as well at the top level, has seen Abby Smith come on leaps and bounds.
And of course, legendary director sportif, British DS, Rachel Hedelman. She's a big part of that. Chantal Vandenbroek-Black, great position, and you wouldn't expect anything less from the team rider from Team SD Works. Powering on here, Chantal Vandenbroek-Black has got to be a favourite for this time trial. What will she do at the finish? Beautiful sunny day here in Atherstone, the 16.6 kilometre individual time trial. At the top of the leaderboard, Veronica Ewers of Tibco Silicon Valley Bank with the fastest time of 24:39. Anna Shackley 2nd with 24:43. Janneke Ensing 3rd with 25:26. Joss Loudon drops the call, new holder of the world 1-hour record. Joss Loudon has got to be a favourite for this time trial.
Joss Loudon, the rider from Drops Le Col, will hope to be the first ever victor in a time trial here at the AJ Bell Women's Tour. And with her abilities, the amount of time she spends on her time trial bike, focusing on the aerodynamics, her equipment, all the way down to her skin suit, for today, she has to be one of the favourites.
48.405 kilometres she did in her hour record, so we'll see what she can do over this course here today. And it's Esteban out on the course. Chantal van den Broek Black out on the saddle on one of the little rises here. As you said, Hannah, you've ridden this course, you know, for a lot of this, it's how long you can stay down in the tuck position on the climbs.
How much time you spend training on your time trial bike to stay in the skis. The course is undulating, you have twists and turns. Are you able to take the sharp corners in the skis? How much time are you spending coming in and out of your skis, but also able to react to the undulation?
Hannah Barnes on the start line here for Canyon SRAM, the British rider, former stage winner in this race, and is off to pastures new next year with Team Uno X. Hannah Barnes, we'll see what she can do in this time trial today. She can do a solid time trial when she wants to.
She certainly can. A former British champion from back in 2018 and has performed well in the world stage as well at the World Championships. Also a team time trial world champion as well. So Hannah Barnes, she's such an exciting prospect, and as you say, when she's in good form this year, she's been hampered by a lot of injury, but I think now coming back into that form, here's her sister Alice Barnes.
Alice Barnes, big finish now from the British time trial champion. Alice Barnes sprints to the line and goes to the top of the leaderboard, 24:26. She looked quick out on the course. She takes the lead.
Really impressive time there from Alice Barnes, one of 4 national champions here at the AJ Bell Women's Tour in the time trial. Audrey Cordon-Rago, the French champion, Christine Majerus, the Luxembourgish champion, and Eugenie Bujak, the Slovenian champion.
Joss Loudon, just look at that position here as she goes through 14 kilometres. Joss Loudon will be teammates with Hannah Barnes next year on the Uno X team, and this season, as well as her time trials and her hour records, she's just impressed me on the road. She won the Tour Feminin in the Czech Republic this year as well, and I think Joss, from every discipline now, really is developing into a great pro.
Looking at her results, especially in the last 2 years, 8th at the World Championships in the time trial a couple of weeks ago down in Bruges, but also a bronze medalist in the mixed relay team time trial as well from Yorkshire and Harrogate.
When she finished her hour record, what impressed me the most, normally when you see someone do that hour record, they finish absolutely broken. She was so fresh, but Chantal van den Broek Black now into the finish. Van den Broek Black, powerful time trialist. We said she could be a favourite for this one. It's second quickest at this point for Chantal van den Broek Black, 24:27 for her. And right behind her, Vita Musique for FDJ crosses the line.
Joss Loudon gets back into her formation, into those skis, keeps herself in the big chain ring. I would expect she'd be running around a 54, 55 tooth chain ring here for this time trial today.
So impressive. You look just how narrow her elbows are. When you look at the sort of, everyone talks about that frontal position that you need to be so narrow. And if you look now from the back, Joss Loudon is just, you know, when you look up aerodynamics in a dictionary now, I think you'd have a picture of Joss Loudon.
You certainly would. She spends so much time on her position, doing aero testing in the velodrome, whether that be in the wind tunnel as well. And she has this huge focus, and it plays dividends when you focus on this discipline. You put a lot of time and effort into it as well.
And teams, you see, we said she's going to Uno X next year, and when if you can have a rider that can win the time trials, it really helps with the publicity. Through that final corner, Abby Smith now, the young Brit. As we said, she's just 19 years old, is this rider, and has impressed so much since she came into the Tibco team. Third quickest for Abby Smith. Another great performance from her.
Leah Kirschman of Team DSM is about to get her ride underway. The former world champion in the team time trial. She's a really exciting prospect up there in the general classification as well. And when we know her capabilities in a sprint to pick up the bonus seconds in the time trial as well, this could be a huge opportunity for Leah Kirschman to put herself up there in the general classification.
She's had 4 time trial victories in her career. She won the prologue of the Giro in her career as well. Another national time trial champion, Christine Majerus. You've got to go back into history to find the last non-Christine Majerus winner of the national time trial championships in Luxembourg.
You do. That's not only for the time trial, but for road racing, cyclocross as well. And for Christine Majerus, this course will suit her with the technicality of it, the small narrowing roads as well.
You can just see how much the motorbike is struggling to stay with Christine Majerus here, which shows just how much speed she's carrying through these corners.
Having ridden this course and done a recon a few months ago and taking a look at what the riders were to expect today, that corner was really tricky to get right because it was slightly off camber. You're coming in so fast from that descent, but for Christine Majerus carrying so much speed into this section of the course.
Ella Harris of Canyon SRAM, this team do so much work in the time trial, you know, in various kind of inceptions of the Canyon SRAM team. As you've said, they've been World Team Time Trial champions, and it shows, doesn't it, when you go into a stage race, when you've got that focus on that time trial, the equipment that they have at their disposal as well. It's really helping every single one of these riders.
Canyon SRAM works so closely with their partners to give them feedback. They can make the equipment as fast as they possibly can. This is the first chance that we get to see how high those hedges are, so you're really sheltered from the wind today. Gusts of up to 30 kilometers per hour.
Joss Loudon rounds the final corner here, and we've been hearing just how fast she's been out on the course. You can see now that position, how aerodynamic she is on that bike. So Joss Loudon up towards the finish line, and it is a new fastest time, 24:22 for Joss Loudon. What a time.
Really impressive time there for Joss Loudon. Goes 4 seconds quicker than the British champion Alice Barnes.
So we really are now getting some fast times out on the course. Christine Majerus here for Team SD Works, and for this team as well, you know, for teams that have got 6 riders still in the race, quite a few teams have been quite depleted over the first couple of days. They'll get that feedback from the early starters to the later starters in the team, such as Christine and of course Damie Vollering to come later on.
It's important as well that these riders have done a recon of the route today, this morning, and to see for their own eyes, because we do have some sections here where you have a very fast descent, some sharp corners as well. So you want to be aware, if you want to try and be up there in the best times, that you've seen the course, and then having that feedback from the riders, your teammates who have gone before you. It's really important that they share that information, share that knowledge.
For Hannah Barnes, just tucks it back down into that aero tuck position, and for Hannah, as we said, off to pastures new with a new team next year. I think that'll just give her a bit of a new lease of life next year.
I think it's what she needs, isn't it? Just to have a refresh of an environment with having new goals, new aims, and having more of a road captain role within the team as well.
So experienced, and this race really was where we first started to see Hannah Barnes excel at a world level, and has changed from the sort of pure sprinter that she was when she first won stages here into a real all-rounder.
Bastianelli gets her ride underway, the former leader of the AJ Bell Women's Tour.
Won the opening day in that sprint, and again it was a real impressive sprint from Marta Bastianelli. She really is the queen at just surfing the lead outs, going past the kids, and she said it herself on the opening day, it really means a lot to them, and she's a mum as well.
Being able to juggle her racing, being back at the top level as well, of course a former world champion in her time.
Eugenia Bujak now finishes here for LA BTC Ljubljana, 16th quickest, but here comes Christine Majerus of Team SD Works. She had Bujak in her sights, and she stops the clock at 7th quickest, 24:52 for Majerus.
Now this is the rider to watch out for. She is the danger woman. Can she take this time trial and take the overall lead? A rider who's in great form. She's never won a time trial, only won the prologue at the LC Jacobs.
Goes into the day 9 seconds down on the general classification. The winner of Liège-Bastogne-Liège this season, the winner of La Course, 3rd overall at the Giro, put in one of the time trials of her life in that to finish 2nd behind that now retired teammate Anna van der Breggen. Vollering has been on great time trial form this season, and we're back out on the road with Leah Kirschman.
Leah Kirschman, a really strong rider who's normally leading out Lorena Wiebes, so has that strength that excels in the time trial. She would have had information as well and some feedback from Lorena after her ride of what to expect today. Has the wind direction changed as well?
We see her on the front, kilometre after kilometre, leading out in the sprints. And for someone like Kirschman, these are the days We said she's won the prologue at the Giro. She's been national champion in the time trial. For someone like Leah now in a team, she's a great sprinter in her own right as well. These are the days where she can get her opportunity to ride for herself.
You see how much time Leah Kirchmann spends on a time trial bike, how much effort she puts in, because she's going into that corner, she comes off the skis very late, she only spends a short amount of time on the outer bars, then she's straight back into the skis, making sure that she's getting as aerodynamic as possible.
Ella Harris now, big effort up towards the line, finishing strongly here for Canyon SRAM. What can she do at the line? Ella Harris, good ride, goes into the top 10 with that, 25.04 for Ella Harris.
Coming into the final kilometre for Leah Kirchmann now, wants to try and get all of that effort out that she possibly can, and you look at her gear selection all the way down in the bottom of the block.
She's been setting some good times out on the course as Leah Kirchmann, as she swings around through these final corners and through the final sections as we head back down in towards Atherstone. Team DSM still have their full complement of riders in the team. Pfeiffer Georgie and Juliette Labuse, her teammates in that breakaway yesterday. Lorena Wiebes, over the final 3 days of this race, has got to be a favourite for some of the sprint stages as well. So expect to see this rider on the front leading out for them. She did a great lead out on stage 1 as well for Lorena Wiebes to deliver her to a bunch sprint. Hannah Barnes now in towards the finish. Let's see what the Canyon SRAM rider can do. Big power now from Hannah Barnes in towards the finish. Let's see what she does when she stops the clock. And it's 7th for Hannah Barnes, so 24.45. So at this stage, still inside that top 10. Clara Copponi, our leader, into the start gate.
Clara Copponi, she's not always known for her time trialing abilities, but I think having that extra confidence, that extra motivation of wearing the leader's jersey here is going to pay dividends for Clara.
We always say a leader's jersey gives you wings. Our race leader, the final rider to start, is underway. All our riders are now out on the course. The leader at the finish, Great Britain's Joss Loudon of Drops-le-Coeur with 24.22.51. Alice Barnes, British champion, 2nd. Chantal van den Broek Black sitting in 3rd. Leah Kirchmann, she's been looking quick out on the course. We'll see what she can do come the finish. The Team DSM rider, former Canadian national time trial champion. One of the best time trials I've seen for a while from Leah Kirchmann.
Really impressive here for Leah Kirchmann, and could be vying for a top spot here at the finish, trying to get all of that effort out here.
Kirchmann powering on here. You can see the back end of this course as well. The slight rises, and it's not far now from the finish for Leah Kirchmann. Really having to dig deep now, trying to just empty the tank. You want to finish a time trial with absolutely nothing left.
It's a real battle, isn't it? And it's a mental battle as well as physical. You know, it's a race of truth. You're against yourself. And also these riders, they will have the information through the race radio from their sports directors in the car, who will just be behind them, relaying that information, also giving them that motivation as well.
They do just need that encouragement. We're about to see Leah Kirchmann now round this final corner. So the Canadian from Team DSM, great sprinter, great time trialist. And you can see the effort now from Leah Kirchmann as she heads up towards the line. Let's see what the time is. It's 2nd quickest, 24.23. So the time of Joss Loudon lives to fight another day.
Marta Bastianelli, our former AJ Bell leader from stage 1, is still out on course, and a very different setup here for Marta Bastianelli. You can see that she doesn't spend as much time as those who really have a focus on the time trial. She'll just want to try and get through today, limit her losses, and be able to have enough left for the road stages to come.
She said when she won her stage that she didn't feel that she could win this race overall, and this time trial kind of looming in the middle of the race has kind of maybe influenced the first couple of days, and that was something that Danny Christmas from Drops-le-Coeur was telling us.
I think that adds that really exciting element, doesn't it, of having this time trial, the first ever time trial in the AJ Bell Women's Tour, and the way it's influenced the road stages. It's been really aggressive and active for the bonus seconds in the intermediate sprints, but also those breakaways going. And if you lose a lot of time on the time trial today, you could put yourself completely out of the general classification with no coming back. Equally, that could help you if you lose a lot of time today to go for a stage victory solo.
Nina Kessler in our Iceberg Red Sprints jersey. So impressive, coming back from injury this season, and it's great to see someone like Nina just really targeting this competition, and it's great to see her back on such good form.
We've had a really long season, haven't we, here in 2021, and for some of those riders that come into the back end, that form is really starting to dip, whereas Nina Kessler, having suffered the setbacks through the injuries and illness, she's on the rise and her form is incredible.
When we've seen her the first couple of days as well, you know, from a sprint point of view, she's been really going sort of power to power with Sarah Roy. So it's been great to see the battle between those two. Juliette Labousse here from Team DSM out on the course, former French national time trial champion. She was in that breakaway yesterday with Pfeiffer Georgie, and that was what was interesting to see yesterday. How many of our strong time trialists were up there, so mindful of making sure they could try and take some time ahead of today.
But one to watch for the overall general classification as well as today's time trial. Again, 9th at the Olympic Games earlier a couple of months ago, 5 top 10s in time trials during this year, and again her lowest position has been 14th at the Elsie Jacobs over in Luxembourg. So for Juliette Labousse, spends so much time focusing here and working with the Team DSM technical staff, performance managers as well.
Demi Vollering, and you can see as well, if you follow Demi Vollering on social media, on Instagram, she is always out on her time trial bike. You can see day in, day out, and for a lot of the top riders, Demi Vollering is probably the champion-elect, the leader-elect within that SD Works team. She does so much work in that time trial position. Clara Copponi coming back onto the road after the Olympic Games. And for me, you look at Clara and you look at this FDJ team, I think Clara Copponi is one win away from really going, you know, stratospheric as a sprinter.
It certainly is. It's been impressive to see. She's been knocking on the door for a while and constantly up there on the podiums, and as you say, I think once she gets that one win under her belt, it's going to be non-stop. And also having the backing from the team, the confidence from your teammates, from the management, from the sports director, it plays a huge role, a huge part. And for Clara Copponi, she's not known for her time trialing abilities, but having the lead in the race is going to do her wonders.
Amy Peters, the aerial shot following her from the helicopter, level on time with Clara Copponi. Juliette Labousse now into the finish with DSM, and it's 4th quickest for the French rider, 24:26. So good time for Labousse. Demi Vollering out on the course here, and you can see just through this little chicane for Vollering, just comes momentarily off the skis, but she'll be quickly back into that tuck position.
You can see how she's attacking this time trial, spending such a short period of time off the skis, accelerating out of the corner, straight back into speed, into that aerodynamic position.
Our time at the finish, Joss Loudon drops the coal, the British rider, 24:22.51. That is the time that all of these riders are chasing. Vollering has put in some phenomenal time trials this year. We talk about that now infamous Giro time trial where her teammate Anna van der Breggen went so quick she eliminated a number of riders on that time cut. Vollering is setting some good times out on the course.
Yeah, her pace is phenomenal, isn't it? And you look at how comfortable she looks. She really looks at one with the bike. She doesn't, you don't see the fatigue starting to set in, the rocking and rolling of the hips and the shoulders.
Getting a good shot here of Clara Copponi through the beautiful countryside around Atherstone here, and this gives us an opportunity to see how Clara's just cutting this course, going from side of the road, side of the road. It's a bit of an S-bend through that section, so Copponi really hugging this course super tight, carrying the speed through these bends.
Importance of doing a recon of the course this morning to know exactly where you need to be on the road, at what point, which side of the road, where is the wind direction coming from as well. Important for the sports director as well to relay that information, because you want to solely focus on your effort, how much you're able to get out, and the information relayed through the race radio, it can help you on which side of the road you need to be, how many meters or hundreds of meters until your next turn.
Inside the final kilometre now for Demi Vollering. There are not many riders left to finish. Vollering out of the saddle now as she kicks up through this section. She's just got that final corner to come as well. So that time, 24:22.51 for Vollering out on the course. We know that she's going quick. Is she going to break British hearts today, or is Jess Allen going to hang on and take this time trial victory?
Demi Vollering wanting to go and take her first ever time trial victory since she turned professional during her career. This is a really impressive time for Demi Vollering. She's in that motion.
Clara Copponi, if you're in the leader's jersey, you want to give it the respect that it deserves, and the French rider is certainly doing that today. Vollering, though, comes out of the final corner. Big effort now by Vollering up towards the line. Demi Vollering looking to try and take the stage, and she goes to the top of the leaderboard. Phenomenal time, 23:18 for Demi Vollering. Knocks Jess Allen into second place.
What an incredible performance there from Demi Vollering, taking over a minute off the time of the British rider Jess Allen's time. The only rider to go under the 24-minute mark as well.
Clara Copponi looking to try and keep her hopes alive in terms of the general classification. Made it into that breakaway yesterday. Did the FDJ Nouvelle Aquitaine Futuroscope rider. Powers up towards the line. She's not going to hold that jersey. 11th quickest, 24:46 for Copponi. Stage victory, and the new leader of the AJ Bell Women's Tour, Demi Vollering, the Dutch rider from Team SD Works. Phenomenal ride from Demi Vollering. A 64-second victory for Vollering on the stage with 3 stages to go. Demi Vollering wins stage 3 by a massive 1 minute and 4 seconds. Behind her, it was very tight indeed, with just 5 seconds separating Jess Allen, Leah Kirschman, Alice Barnes, Juliette Labousse and Chantal Black. British riders Abby Smith, Anna Shackley and Hannah Barnes all made it into the top 10. So, Demi Vollering claims her first stage win of the AJ Bell Women's Tour. There was no change in the Skoda Queen of the Mountains competition, so Elise Chabet retains the green jersey. And Nina Kessler remains in the Iceberg Sprints red jersey. Clara Copponi has lost the overall lead of the race, but she still holds the Sigma Sports points jersey.
How was it out there on the course today?
It was very good. Finally, it's not my specialty, but I finished 11. So, yeah, I'm happy with my performance. So I give my best, and it's cool.
And you retain the points jersey as well?
Yeah. So for me, it's cool to start tomorrow with a jersey. It's not the leader jersey, but it's already good. I'm happy with that.
And the new race leader is Demi Vollering of Team SD Works. In the general classification, the Dutch rider has over a minute advantage over Juliette Labousse, with Clara Copponi now third at 1 minute 19. Amy Peters drops to fourth at 1:22. Aude Bionique is 11 seconds further back in fifth, and Jess Allen's second place in the time trial lifts her to 6th overall.
And our new race leader, Demi Vollering, joins me now. We spoke on the first stage, and you clearly weren't that happy. You had a lot more that you wanted to do in the race. You must be delighted after today.
Yeah, I'm really happy, of course, and yeah, I'm improving a lot on the time trial, so I'm really happy that I won this one. It's good for my, for the feeling, of course.
Did you expect such a big margin of winning?
No, actually not. I hoped, of course, for a podium and also for a win, but I didn't expect that I won by such a margin. So that's really cool to see.
And how well did you know this TT circuit? Had you looked very closely?
Yeah, I looked already on the internet with Google Street View a bit, and then this morning we did the lap once. And then we decided, okay, we need to see it another time because it was quite technical. So a lot of corners, small roads, up, down, a lot of headwind also. So yeah, this course I think it was really important to see and to take a closer look on it. And yeah, I'm happy that I did it twice because the third time was good. I could ride it almost with my eyes closed, so that's nice.
Absolutely amazing to watch. And what's the plan for the final 3 stages?
Yeah, I think we have a really nice team here to defend the jersey, of course. So yeah, we will put a lot of work in it. Of course, it will be heavy, but I think we have a great team here. So
you certainly do, Demi. Thanks for the chat. Huge congratulations once again. And join us at the same time tomorrow, where we'll have all the action from stage 4. We'll see you then. Bye bye for now.